When I get a chance to like the good ratings, I've had some good opportunities to compare them.
Good, how are you?
Meeting will please come to order. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our first meeting in November. My gosh, time is flying. I want to reconvene, of course, to our meeting, and I want to announce that the meeting is being teleconferenced with Mr. Neely from Austin, Texas, and Ms. Castle from Walona, California. Roll call, we're going to be all here, not here, but in other words, our vote will be either complete. In the vicinity, Mr. Hawkins says. Student representatives, we have Anna from Bear Creek, and we have Colin Beckler filling in for Julia King. Welcome. Okay. Will you please rise for the flag salute? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one report from closed session, placement of non-public school students. Mr. Freitas motioned, Mr. Calkins second, that the board approve the placement of 2015-16 non-public school students, number 8687, by the following vote of 7-0. That concludes all things in closed session. We have some recognitions, and as most of you know, that November 1st to the 7th is Retired Teachers Week. And I'm one of them, so, and we have several here. Mr. Ron Stock, President of the California Retired Teachers Association, Division 20. Sir, you have the floor.
Hey.
Well, that is. Where do you want to stand?
Right in the podium, if you can podium, Ron, so we can hear you, record you.
Okay. There you go. Is it on?
Yes, it's on.
Okay, but we're from the California Retired Teachers Association, Division 20, which is San Joaquin County. And we represent there's about 67 divisions in California. And there we go. And our main job is to guarantee the security of our pensions for the teachers, help with insurance and things like that. So we meet once a month or once every other month, depending on what month it is. And your president right here, Mr. Joe Nava, is a member of our organization too. He's a California Retired Teachers. And what we would like to do today is there's lots of teachers that volunteer in our community. And we would like to present a symbolic check here for the number of hours the teachers do. Teachers, when they retire, you think a lot of them go away, but like us here, we don't, we volunteer. And so we do a lot of volunteer work. And so right here, we would like to present this check, and it says Lodi Unified School District Board and Citizens. And it says 23,084 volunteer hours at $26.34 an hour equals 680,000. Okay, $32.56. Now, we say, well, that's a lot, but I would say only about 30 or 40% of our teachers reported their hours. So this right here, like myself, I have about 900 of those hours. And yes, anyway, But like I work with foster kids. I have one, I'm not a foster parent, but I work with them. And I have one at Ansel Adams and one at Murata Middle. And my wife volunteers at Creekside in Mrs. Lemon's class. So we're serving Lodi Unified in our volunteer days. And so Mr. Berlin here I've been retired 40 years. And Mr. Berlin, I mean, not retired 40 years, I taught 40 years, been retired 10 for Stockton Unified. And Mr. Berlin here had 37 years in for Stockton Unified. So, but we also give back to the school district. Last year we gave out 6 scholarships to the San Joaquin County, and 3 of them were in Lodi Unified, 1 at Bear Creek and 2 at Tokay. And last year we also gave out 4 teacher mini grants to Lodi Unified to help teachers get some materials and so forth for their room. So we're giving back also to the school district. So anyway, so this is a week of the retired teachers, and we thank you for letting us make a presentation.
Thank you very much, Ron. Your children attended Lodi Unified, didn't they?
Mine? Yes.
Yes. Would you tell us what one of them is, or both of them are doing?
Well, my youngest one taught for a while at Bear Creek, but now he's a fireman. My oldest one graduated from Tokay. He was on the speech team. And my oldest one was my youngest was on the speech team. My oldest one did academic decathlon. And my oldest son now is a superintendent up in Rockland Unified.
How about that?
So anyway,
Yes.
So he's a product of Lodi.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Ron and Ron, for your efforts in giving us all this hours that I know that the retired teachers put in. I'm a little bit ashamed of myself because I'm busy doing other things, but once I finish my tenure here, you'll see me all the time at the meeting.
But you volunteer on the golf course. Sir.
Absolutely, I do. Oh, yes. And try to recruit people that aren't in the right. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Everly.
Oh, there we go.
No.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, I just wanted to offer my congratulations and my thanks for the work that you do. It's one of those things that I brought up several times is what a huge resource for any community is the army of retired teachers. Whether they work at the library or museum or in the classroom reading to kids, it's endless what the possibilities could be, and what a great thing we could do is if we could expand that a little bit more, and just another adult positively touching the lives of a child. Can't ask for much more. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, we have a spotlight. We're spotlighting today Lodi High Speech and Debate Team. Ms. Bedeca?
Good evening, President Nava and members of the board. This is the fun stuff. I love doing spotlights. Lodi High Speech and Debate Team has been recognized as one of the top 10% in the nation, and it's only the beginning of the year. So I'm going to bring Bob Lofstad up to introduce his team.
President Nava, members of the board, Dr. Washer, it's a real privilege to present this group to you. This is a very small sample group, representative group of 2 full sections. So 5th and 6th period is stuffed full of kids doing speech and debate. And, for years, Lodi Speech and Debate at Lodi High has spent many, many weekends going to tournaments, preparing for the tournaments. And where they go, they win. They either win as a team or they win in different categories. And, it's about time that they got recognized for their considerable talent. Now, this group right here, whenever we bring students up, we recognize that they're talented, they're bright. This group is talented, bright, and very articulate. So, don't get into an argument with them. That would be a mistake. Seriously though, this will be based on the serious level of talent that they ascribe to and learn in speech and debate. This will be your next group of lawyers and doctors and school board members and teachers. So we're real proud of the work that they do. And so you're going to see a little bit of their talent as well. I'm going to introduce you to Catherine Geyer, that's the advisor for speech and debate, and she'll take you to the next phase of this. But we're real proud of the work all of you guys do. You guys are amazing. And Catherine, where are you? For Catherine, I'm looking right at you, okay. Tireless, the amount of weekend effort that goes into this, getting people, even from getting enough people from the community to help judge the competitions and stuff. It's an enormous amount of work. So hats off to Catherine Geyer as well. So I'm going to bring you up and take us from here.
And thank you so much for the opportunity to show off some of my wonderful students. They are tireless workers. One of the many advantages for speech and debate is that it hits every single portion of the Common Core for English language arts. The other quality that it instills in the students is it instills how to argue, how to persuade, how to move people emotionally. Because we all know that we use our logic, we rely on that, but emotions move us. Emotions get us out of our seats, and they get us started on things that our logic might say, oh, that's a little scary. And the other thing that speech and debate does is it provides an opportunity to give youth a voice. And the more you practice that, the more you perform, the easier it becomes. So I am truly honored. I did some research this afternoon because I was like, oh, what am I going to say to the board? I have no idea. 2 articles in Forbes magazine. One said that how to hire millennials who will lead your company. And they said basically they come all dressed like business executives. They have a deep understanding of how to persuade, how to present clearly, and how to connect with an audience. I give you Lodi High Speech and Debate.
Hi, my name's Connor Wright, and I'm president of Speech and Debate this year, and I'm also captain of Extemporaneous Speaking. So to explain what that event is all about is it's really about learning and being able to teach others what you know. So it's about learning what's going on not only in the United States, but throughout the entire world about social events, what's going on economically and even politically. So at a tournament, you have 30 minutes to prepare a 7-minute speech. Now, at first that's very difficult, but we practice and practice and get a lot better at it. So if you're going to be able to give a really good speech in that short amount of time, you have to really know what you're talking about. So one of the things we have to do in class and we all work on together is we read magazines. We read things like the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Economist. We read so much and learn a lot. And then we have to be able to teach others what we're learning about, our judges. And that's what makes this event really cool. Now, the other difficult part is that we have to make this interesting. So one of the questions I got this weekend was, would a Chinese social credit score improve Chinese civic oversight? Now, that might sound very boring to a lot of you guys, but everyone who does this, if you really read about it and know what you're talking about, it's really interesting. But you have to make that interesting to your judge as well. So that's another great skill that we learn from is we learn how to entertain people with boring issues and make it interesting and educate people and just have a really good time with it and gain a lot of skills. So that's why it's my favorite event. I'm a little biased towards it because I'm the captain of it. But it's a great event and there's a lot of really awesome teammates who do it. So now Carly's going to talk about original interpretation or rhetorical.
Hi, my name is Carly Bombeck. I am the Vice President of Speech and Debate, and I'm also the Captain of Interpretation. And the event I do, like Connor mentioned, is oratorical interpretation, which is where you take someone else's speech that was given, which is such as Martin Luther King Jr., I Have a Dream, and you give it yourself. And you have 10 minutes, and then you give your own little snippet of it called an introduction. And so and you talk about current issues such as things as TED Talks, or in mine specifically, I address depression and how no one in society really talks about depression, but the person in my speech, Kevin Briel, brings this to everyone's attention and puts it in the spotlight so that everyone understands what it really is and why we need to talk about it, because it is a serious issue in the United States and all over the world. So I was just going to give you a little excerpt. The only part that I've written, which is the introduction, is what I'm going to give to you. So it goes like this. There's not one person in this room, including myself, who enjoys an awkward situation. Something we need to realize is that sometimes it is imperative to put ourselves in these awkward, uncomfortable situations because it could possibly save a life. Over 25 million Americans suffer from depression, and 50% of these people consider suicide. The sad irony of it all is that too many of these people seem like the happiest people we know, but really, they're in darker places than we could ever imagine. The only way we can stop people from taking their own lives is by talking about it. Confessions of a Depressed Comic, a TED Talks by Kevin Briel. And that's my introduction to it. And yeah, that's what I do.
Hi, my name is Delaney Lund, and I'm Public Relations Officer for Lodi High Speech and Debate. So that entails grant writing and writing up newspaper articles after any victories at tournaments. I'm also the other captain of interpretive events. I've been fortunate enough in speech and debate to be given the opportunity to go to the state tournament, and most recently we were able to go to CSU Long Beach Jack Howe Invitational Tournament, where I was able to make it to finals. We were able to go to this tournament primarily because of a Got Kids grant we were awarded, so thank you to the Got Kids Foundation. And I personally do the dramatic interpretation event, which takes relevant issues in today's society and discusses them by taking a pre-written script and developing characters to them. My script this year is on school shootings, so I was going to do a short excerpt from that speech. And this is from the perspective of the school shooter. In the newspaper this morning, she said I was a nice guy. They said I was a quiet guy. Nobody ever thought I could do this, but you just want to know how. I'll tell you. I poured myself a bowl of Captain Crunch cereal, added 2% milk, and ate it. Because breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and it's not every day you go down in history as a monster. But it could be. Only on this day I took my father's .22 and in that many seconds loaded the magazine. Magazines are filled with slugs and bullet point reporting pointing to bullet holes, which is followed by headlines like town mourns tragic loss of life. Bang, shooter new victims well. Bang, town searches for answers. Bang, and the million-dollar question is, why? And that's the introduction.
As you can see, a powerful group of students, and this is only a small segment of our talent and our ability. I also want to echo our public relations coordinator, grant writers. Thanks to the Got Kids Grant Foundation, because they enable us to hone and sharpen our talents against people across the state and eventually across the nation. So that's part of your support that you guys have given, and we very, very much appreciate it. Also wanted to invite you to come and judge and see some of these wonderful students across our league, which is basically the Central Valley. Lodi High hosts the national qualifying tournament at Lodi High School, and it is March 11th and 12th. So it's Friday after school from about 3 o'clock until 6 or 7, and then all day Saturday. And so we'll certainly send you some more information, but we would love to have all of your attendance, and I can promise you will be awed, inspired, and impressed, and have a firm belief that the world is going to be in great hands.
Can we take a minute to introduce everyone else?
Yeah, so I'll have you guys come up once and just say who you are and what your name is, or sorry, what your event is, my bad.
Hello, I'm Joseph Phillips, and I am the extemporaneous speaking captain, like the event that Connor does, but for the other class.
Hi, my name's Roman Huerta, and it's my first year, and I do humorous interpretation.
Hi, I'm Hannah Mosier, and I'm on the Lincoln Douglas debate team.
Hi, I'm Robert Watts, and I'm also on the Lincoln Douglas debate team.
We have a certificate for you to put up in your classroom, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you doing great things this whole year. So we want you to be #1 in the nation by the end of the year.
Very good. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Any questions, board? I want to thank you, Principal Austin, for your leadership. But thank you, Catherine, for your hard work with these youngsters that, I mean, I could stay here and listen all night to all your powerful speeches. My gosh, it just brings back memories when I was in high school that I did not have the opportunity of that, but I did, was a leader in debate and things like that in a small manner. But my gosh, what an opportunity you have as leaders to go and get these awards and represent Lodi and Lodi Unified School District. Thank you very much.
Thank you and congratulations. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, we'll continue on with our agenda. Our superintendent's report, Dr. Washer.
Thank you, Mr. Napa, members of the board, and that was a nice thank you to Got Kids. Know that you all serve on the Got Kids board of directors, and to see your efforts in action was really fantastic. So you are doing great things. I just want to give you an update. You know, we've been working with the Lodi Chamber of Commerce for several years now on our PIE committee, Partners in Education. Well, we have a new program with PIE, and that has actually started, and that's the Mamas and Papas. You may have heard about this. I think we mentioned it before. This is where folks out in the community who have a little time to give volunteer in our after-school programs at the elementary level to read with kids, to help them with homework, to bring them their talents and skills, share with them, whether it's knitting, stamp collecting, whatever it may be that perhaps our students haven't seen before, heard about. Just another adult in their life to take interest in them. We trained a group already, and I think there were over 20 folks who participated, and some of them have actually been out there at our schools working with kids already. So just want to let you know that that program is going well, and the chamber continues to find us volunteers for that. Along the lines of Got Kids, just a reminder that we have our crab feed, first crab feed coming up January 16th. Tickets are $45. They are now available. You can get tickets from any one of us or online on the Got Kids website or in my office. Seating is limited, so get your tickets soon. $45 will get you a fun night and some good crab. I want to thank you, board members, for participating in the study session and acknowledging the efforts of our high schools as they put together their 3-year plans. We're going to bring you more information about that back at future board meetings. Just wanted to thank you for a great study session. Also want to let you know that we're continuing to work with our industrial group. This is the Lodi Industrial Group, part of kind of an offshoot of the Chamber of Commerce, but leaders throughout industry in Lodi have expressed interest in working with the school district on a partnership to help kids learn job skills, whether it be manufacturing, the wine industry, plastics, whatever it may be, to give kids exposure to what careers are available in the Lodi area and give them a little experience with that. So we continue to have those conversations, and hopefully we'll bring you something concrete in the near future. But that could be an exciting piece of what you heard at the study session last time. It could complement that very well. Thank you, Mr. Nava.
Thank you, Dr. Washer, for your report. We'll continue on with action items, consent agenda A. Any items that want to be pulled by the board? Being none, any from the public? Being none, entertain a motion. Mr. Womack.
Move to approve consent agenda A.
Moved by Mr. Womack, second by Mr. Heberly to approve the consent agenda A, routine business. Student vote? Board vote? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. All right, continue on with items on consent agenda B, student discipline cases. Mr. Womack.
Move to approve.
Move to approve consent agenda B.
Second.
Second by Mr. Talkin. No student vote on this, so let's call for the board vote. Motion carries 7-0. Personnel matters.
Mr. Nava,
Yes, Mr. Neely.
a comment on the personnel matters.
Yes, sir.
We have other action items.
Other action items.
Sorry, say again?
I'm sorry, hold on a second, I missed something.
We're gonna backtrack a little bit, George.
Okay.
Excuse me, very good, okay.
Provisional.
It's not on my script.
It looks like a personnel item.
Okay, provisional internship permit approval. Mr. McCulkin?
Yes, President Nava, members of the board, this is another one of those provisional intern permits that we are required to bring to you as a matter of course. So it's before you this evening for 2 employees.
I do have a couple questions.
Yes, Mr. Heberly?
I see that I don't know if it's actually a job title, but the description is education specialist. Is that basically the catch-all for the internship because they're not credentialed?
No, that's education specialist is the credential they're seeking. They're an intern for an education specialist credential.
Okay. And these individuals, what grade and subject area are they? Do you happen to know offhand?
These are both special ed. One is at elementary at Reese School and one is at Tokay High School.
Thank you.
They serve several grade levels.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mike? Questions from the audience? It's an action item.
I would move, Mr. President, I would move approval.
Mr. Talkin move to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Womack. Student vote? Board vote? Motion carries 7-0. I apologize for skipping this, but something happened to me, Valerie. Okay, that's one demerit for you. Okay, now we can go to personnel matters. Oh, one more. Okay, reclassification of one construction project specialist to lead construction project specialist. Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Na, members of the board, that's exactly what it is. A measure to reclassify the construction project specialist, of which we have one, to a lead construction project specialist.
Any comments from the board?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Heberly?
Seeing as how this is a reclassification, then does that open up another position to fill the one that has moved up, or is it combining?
Mr. Everly, no, that would not do it. It would not be backfilled.
Any other comments? Board, any comments from the audience? Okay. Mr. Womack, move to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Talkin. Board, student vote?
Aye.
Board vote? Motion carries 7-0. All right, now we go to personnel matters. Okay, George, did you have a question on personnel matters?
No, I don't have a question. I want to make a comment on it.
Okay.
Under resignation, we're gonna see, gentleman Grover Davis, who, is an after-school program supervisor. His resignation is going to be effective on the 6th. I have known Mr. Davis for a number of years, and he was a community liaison officer at Creekside. I've always found his work to be just so far above average. He's just an exceptional individual who really cares about the kids. Unfortunately, we lost Mr. Davis as a community liaison officer when he had to leave that position due to cutbacks in the 2008-9 time period. He stuck with Lodi. His position, his time, his pay was greatly cut, but he stuck with Lodi. And he started coming back and moving on up again. Mr. Davis is leading us to go to a charter school where he is going to be working with kids of poverty. And that's something that he is just absolutely incredible at. He's an incredible role model. It's going to be a huge loss to Lodi Unified. I have talked to Mr. Davis, and he is open to come back. So his heart's here in Lodi, and I just want to recognize the fantastic job he's done for all these years. And with that, I move that we approve personnel items.
Thank you, George.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Neely, second by Mr. Talkett to approve personnel matters.
Hold on a second.
Yes. No student vote on this. Yeah, Mr. Womack tried to get off the computer and he got stuck, so we got a delay for him. He delayed the computer. Yeah, demerit, another demerit for him. He can move over here, Ty, if you like.
I could actually button this.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Joe, elbow me.
No, yeah, you can, now you can keep me awake.
Use the elbow room.
Yeah.
Let's try this one.
So you can break it up.
There's no slack here.
No.
So Mr. Neely moved and Mr. Talkin second?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
Something to be. All right. Hit the jackpot.
We're good.
All right, we got a motion and a second on personnel matters, board vote. Motion carries 7-0. All right, we have communications, comments from student representatives. Let's start with Anna today. She's the experienced one here.
Mr. President, board members, I'd like to start out with that we brought this new positive behavior program to Bear Creek, and it is leadership teachers such as my student government teacher and our link crew leader. We've brought a collaborating, making sure that everyone knows what it means to be a Bruin on campus. So we're trying to make time in class to discuss this question with our students, like what is it to be a Bruin at Bear Creek High School? So leadership students will be presenting in different classes and show what we have in like campus life, what we all provide for our campus. And this brings the campus together. We feel more positive and comfortable with one another. Projects and activities will be set up for students to develop ideas to unite this campus, such as we might make a poster that says Bruins, and for each letter, we would provide the corresponding word that would, yes. Also, we have Friends of Rachel's that is still in effect. We are planning on talking about a new teacher, giving them appreciation once again. Students and staff are also coming together to celebrate clerical work's impact on the school and students. The program is flourishing and we are heading in a safe and caring environment at Bear Creek. We have our Powder Puff game coming up on November 20th. The juniors and seniors, we've been practicing really hard and we're super excited for this. It's really exciting. Everyone gets involved, everyone comes out and supports us. In student government, we just completed our homecoming rally last week. The dance and the rally both got the campus really spirited. We had our spirit week, the week of the rally. We had very high numbers, which is really exciting for us. We are also starting to have students attend the instructional leadership meetings. And this past week, we had our ASB Vice President, Anissa Yukon, attend this meeting with the teachers to get more academic side of how the teachers are running things. And at the meeting, they discussed the PBIS positive behavior program that we're starting. And they started talking about opening new classes on campus more related to career planning, such as justice and law. They also talked about providing planners for high school students to encourage organization. Students said that planners are plan to be helpful and useful, and we've discussed putting an online planner possibly, but not every classroom has computers or Chromebooks, so we're looking for alternatives in our budget. And also, they also discuss having teachers deal with eating in class or allowing textbooks to be left in class. So those are the types of things they talk about at these meetings. And student government students, we have been representing in PTSA meetings, athletic and academic foundation meetings, and also school site council meetings. And the student government team, we're really trying to attempt to be active in these meetings to have a stronger voice regarding the inner workings of the campus and policies. We also have student activities, which is a different branch of student government that just started this year. And they're starting to sell school or class apparel during lunch that will like feed into our student government account so we can produce more fun things for the school. So they're starting to sell school class color wristbands, backpacks, sunglasses, beaded necklaces, and students are finding this like really intriguing and exciting and to see like what we're gonna have next. Also, upcoming is our Winterfest rally where we recognize academically successful students that are nominated by our teachers. We also show our class pride by performing class dances, and students get really involved in that, and it's really fun to connect with your class in that way. This is my favorite part. We're gonna recognize all the sports that have just done so great this year. We've had volleyball, cross country, golf, and water polo all go undefeated this year. And even today in water polo, we had our first section game and we won, so we get to advance to round 2. and we play on Thursday at St. Mary's versus St. Mary's. It's very exciting for us, and we're extremely proud and excited to see the team work on all the sports across. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for your report. My gosh, what great things are happening in athletics at Bear Creek. I want to tell you that I and Ms. Castle and Mr. Womack attended the stadium dedication, I guess it would be called.
Yeah.
And Major Al people were there, and some of the coaches from the teams. I was very impressed with that field. My gosh, you should fill the stadium for Potter Pup. You're playing a game there?
Yeah.
Oh, what a great thing that's going to be. I stepped on the field, and compared to where the other school that I coached, this field has a lot of cushion, and it's just like grass. So it's a state-of-the-art field, and my gosh, what a facility. A lot of pride created, and then it's a lot of pride in your sports teams that have been doing that, and of course, a lot of things happening there academically, and also your Rachel's deals and all those kinds of things are very good for the student body there. Thank you very much.
Thank
for
you
your
so much.
report. Okay, Colin, we got a report from Tokay.
Mr. President and board members, Tokay Tribe is pumped up for the Lodi versus Tokay football game coming up on Friday. They are selling spirit shirts and sticks and making posters. The art club rewarded a classroom for decorating their door for National Drug Awareness Week. The after-school program was able to give 25 students a free ACT training class, and then hosted the ACT on October 24th, which is very helpful to many students. Many students were also able to take the PSAT to prepare for future college readiness tests, and the counseling office has welcomed a new counselor to help seniors with college applications. The student government is hosting a Tokay's Got Talent, where students are able to showcase their talents and win prizes given by teacher judges. And our annual blood drive is on November 9th, which many students are participating in order to support others. A performance coming up is the San Francisco Shakespeare Company is coming to perform a play for our Shakespeare classes and host a workshop to help students understand and analyze Shakespeare literature, which is a large part of our modern language. And co-curricular is our varsity soccer team, men's soccer team, and men's water polo team made it to sections. And for the women's tennis, Jessica Kay made it to sections. And for women's golf, Zoe Offield made it to masters, and we're ready to kick off winter sports.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you very much for your report. I know you have a lot of student involvement, and with your blood drive and your performing arts, that you're getting a group from San Francisco to come in. Congratulations to your soccer and also water polo team. My gosh, you're doing real well. And I want to mention that you mentioned Zoe Offield. She's my granddaughter. Had a disaster at Spanos, but she's very positive. She had 78 at the Masters in Modesto the week before. So I want to tell you that's one of my granddaughters. Thank you. Okay. Thanks for your report. Okay, we're going to have comments from the public. I have two requests here, and we are going to stick to the 3-minute deal today. Susan Everly?
Good evening, Susan Heberly. I want to say my son stopped by and was very excited about the water polo win. But really I have something more serious to talk about. One of the things that they say in history, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And so it's very important that we understand the things that have happened. And at the last meeting, the question was asked why we got rid of the CT or vocational ed. And it was kind of alluded to that it was due to financial reasons, and that wasn't the case at all. It was systematically and willfully, the program was destroyed because a group of people thought that we should do all college prep only and the students shouldn't have any choices. And the result were thousands of failures, and it lasted for a long time. And it took some time to get that back. And I'm really glad to see that happening. The other thing that happened is some of the college prep classes lost some of their rigor. It's very difficult once you lose that to bring it back. And in a high school, comprehensive high school, it's really important to have both things. A good CTE program, a core college prep program, and I'm hoping that we recognize and never lose sight of that again. And it's one of the reasons that when Monere was built, they lacked the shop classes today that they need. My second part that I want to say is that, in a bureaucracy, things sometimes take a long time. But we as parents, good parents, would never say to a child, okay, this year your education, so-so. But next year it'll be better. Or maybe you could wait 5 years down the road. Only a bureaucracy acts like that. And I think it's time for us, especially in these good times, that we are really proactive and make sure that we act like the very best parents who say every year and the education of a child's life is important, and do the best we can as soon as we can. Okay. And then my third comment, because I hear this quite a bit of time, and this is strikes me personally, is that regardless of who we are and what our thoughts are about some children, all children are important, and discrimination is discrimination, regardless. And we shouldn't be discriminating against any child. By the way, I just want to say that we're always in the boosters for Tokay water polo. So, good job, you guys.
Thank you, Susan.
Yep.
Next speaker is Damien Gonzalez.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I come to you all with an open heart, very heavy heart. I have had a
State your name.
Damien Gonzalez. Yes. And I'm the proud parent of Damien Gonzalez and Gabriela Gonzalez, who were unlawfully enrolled at Davis Elementary School. On August 27th, I came to pick up my children to take them to a doctor's appointment. And Damon Archer, when I came, he defied my parental rights and ignored a court document from Judge Robin Appel disregarding my parental rights. Since then, I've made a number of attempts to speak to the superintendent, Lodi Lampkin. I heard Desiree Wise was so unprofessional, so disrespectful, that ultimately on the third time that I called, she hung up the phone and left the phone off the hook for 32 minutes. Fortunately for public record, all of my calls are recorded. I have this gavel here because this kind of brings back good memories for me. I actually had an opportunity to sit down and be vice chair for policy council in Placer County. It has been almost 3 months now that as a result of Principal Archer that I have not seen my children. He actually contacted San Joaquin PD or Sheriff Department, and Officer Scallion threatened me that if I come back to pick up my children for any reason, if I come onto campus, that I will go to jail. And for the record, I opened up internal affairs. Sergeant Wheeling was amazing. I have confidence that rather than having to pursue legal actions, that now that I've got to have an opportunity to meet Ms. Lampkin personally, that we will be able to resolve this issue, and that no parent will ever have to be treated and go through what I've gone through every single night of being deprived of seeing my children and not being able to take my children to the doctor. So, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for what you do for our community.
Thank you, Damien. Thank you. Okay, continue on with your agenda. We can't have comments from employee group representatives. Wow, 2 in a row, that's pretty good. Nobody? Okay. Comments from board members? Mr. Everly?
Thank you, Mr. Nava. First of all, I'd like to thank the student representatives for your reports. It really, it's a nice thing. It helps us feel connected to your schools, and the information is well received. I really do appreciate it. I did want to make a little note about the Bear Creek High School girls water polo team, who won the first round of sections today, which is basically some Bear Creek history, because never before has the girls water polo team made it through the first round of section playoffs. So it was not just a game, it was really a very exciting game. And speaking to the coach just before I was leaving to come here this evening, who was busting at the seams, wanted me to make sure that I mentioned that Anna played a wonderful game. So he thanks you. So, but it was obviously it's a team sport, but I told him that I would mention that history had been made today for Bear Creek, which is always an exciting thing. The second thing I wanted to mention this evening is after the last study session, which was about the broadening the course of study in our high schools, which is always a good thing. You know, part of what we want to do is give our students the opportunity for positive experiences, and that is athletics. You saw speech and debate. It really helps develop maturity and citizenship and poise and a direction in what they want to do, maybe for their life or a hobby. And the whole idea of the CTE, it's even though things were reduced in our district from a previous administration, I am happy that not only Lodi Unified, but a lot of districts are realizing the value of CTE and are taking action to rectify that mistake of eliminating so many of them. And you know, I look forward to the rebuilding of our CTE programs. You know, it's a first step. We've got to keep moving forward, because these types of student opportunities obviously lead to employability, and that's kind of what we want, is our students to grow and become good citizens and contributors to society. It's good for everything, communities and the country. Not only that, parents, businesses, basically the whole community are absolutely behind CTE and of course STEM type courses, because that all translates to great success. And so it is good to see that. I look forward to the first steps. And I am an impatient person when it comes to that. And I want as much as we can to provide for the kids as early as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Everly. Mr. Womack?
Just a couple of things. I attended the employee awards, which was great. There's a lot of employees being awarded for a couple of them for 35 years and others for 30, and it was great to see them there. Also attended the homecoming and track dedication in Bear Creek, which was pretty amazing. And lastly, I just want to say that for the last 10 years, I've been the race director for the Run and Walk Against Hunger, which is a Thanksgiving morning fundraiser for the Emergency Food Bank, which has a mobile farmer market that does go to several sites here in Lodi as well. And it's coming up Thanksgiving morning, so your participation will be a very good, healthy thing with the whole family, and you also support the food bank. Thank you.
Mr. Neely?
Thank you, Mr. Nava. I'm taking everything up for November 17th to get back. You guys.
Oh, come on, just break it up in pieces, George.
Bring the lunch.
I'll volunteer to help you on Thanksgiving.
Thank you, sir.
Put me down for that. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Castle?
Oh, yes, hello, everyone. Greetings from a very snowy and cold Yosemite. And I look forward to seeing everybody in person next board meeting.
Thank you, Bonnie. I have a couple of things. I want to thank Mike for that program for honoring those employees for 40, 35, 30, 25. My gosh, that's amazing. Well attended and appreciative. I talked to some of the people when I left there, and they were really fired up as the presentation and the things that Lodi Unified School District does for them. Also, I'd like to mention, and I know it's not an oversight because you're so busy, Anna, but Justin Alexander was a soccer player by trade for his high school days, had something else in store. I saw the coach waving him over there, says, "Come here, Justin," and he got into the cross country, and he won the league championship for cross country. Was it what is it? The decal? Is that or SJAA? It has to be the SJAA. Yes, the decal is the other one. Okay, very good. That's all I have. We have a report, and it's all pretty concrete because it's got a lot of data in it. And I mean, how do you comment on data except it's there, and what do you do with it? Lisa and Randy, my God, nice to see you, Randy. I've seen you in a while. Yes. Dr. Washer, you have any other comments? I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, President Alva, I brought out the big guns for this
I know
report.
you did, my gosh.
It's all data-driven report that we have coming forth. This is actually, a very exciting time. Hard to say the data is exciting, but it is our first report with our Smarter Balanced Assessment that we just did this past spring. So this is really something we waited for several years that we've been hearing this. So I've invited Mr. Melandro. I think he's going to do most of the presentation, and he's going to introduce his other staff that will help him with the presentation or help us answer questions.
Thank you, Ms. Pitowski. Good evening, Dr. Washer, President Nava, members of the board. I know you're all excited about the data, Mr. Nava.
Absolutely. Oh, I can hardly wait.
We're happy to share that information with you. We do want to share information about the new state assessment. And we'll begin talking a little bit about the state assessment itself, what the scores mean, and then give you data for the district. We're very lucky in this district to have some wonderful people, very qualified people in the ARE department who put together a lot of these reports. And so I want to make sure we recognize them as they're up here at the table as well. Ms. Deborah Ladwig, who is the ARE analyst, and Mr. Avi Atwal, who is our new senior database engineer. So they're up here to support. And as I said, they did a number of things in putting this information together. Before we get started talking about the actual assessment, just a reminder of why we needed to have a new assessment as we move forward with a number of other states to the Common Core. Very, very different way, different types of standards, and so we had to assess them in a different way. So that's why for grades 3 through 8 and 11, we have the new Smarter Balanced assessments in English Language Arts and Math. You also may have heard about CASP, and some people get confused. What is CASP? What is SBAC? What are all those things? CASP is the overarching umbrella of all the state assessments. It's what STAR used to be. It stands for California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress. We'll be sharing with you today some data of those assessments under that large umbrella, such as the Smarter Balanced Math, English Language Arts, and the science assessments as well. Why are we doing this new assessment? What kinds of things have changed? The old standards, very much fact-based, very discrete knowledge-based. And to assess those, all you needed was multiple choice. And students with the infamous bubbling in of answers, as you saw a lot of places occurring, but now with the new Common Core standards, they require an application of knowledge, a greater depth of understanding. So no longer can that be assessed by simple multiple choice. So the items on the Smarter Balanced Assessment, they have multiple choice, yes, but those multiple choice have multiple answers. We also have constructed response, technology enhanced items, drag and drop. So what we're trying to do with this assessment is to really assess those Common Core standards in a different way. Here's an example of how that might be different. In the old days, the CST days, the problem on the left, which is how many right angles are in a rectangle. Student had 4 choices. You might know the answer, but if not, hey, guess, you have a 25% chance of getting it correct. On the right-hand side is the way that would be asked in the new Smarter Balanced Assessment. And it asks you not only to understand what that right angle means, but then how it's applied. So you have 2 items that actually require students to write and to explain. So when you take a look at those 2, you see why we needed a different assessment because we're looking at a greater depth of knowledge. Now, I want to caution everyone on this because here's what we all want to do, including me, and that is compare our scores for the Smarter Balanced Assessment and our proficiencies to the CSTs. But up on the screen are several reasons why we cannot do that. Again, CSTs were very discrete fact-based, and we're looking at higher level thinking with the new Common Core standards. So the new assessment has to assess that way. The old way, just bubble in. The new way, they're open-ended questions and lots of written responses required. The old way, we had 5 levels. In the new assessment, we have 4. They are standard not met, standard nearly met, standard met, or standard exceeded. So it's very difficult to compare the old to the new for a number of reasons in terms of how the assessment is given, but also in the way the assessment is scored. Just a reminder and a caution that what's important when we share the scores with you tonight, it's not the score itself, because that's a baseline. That's where we start. What's important is what we do after that, where our growth is, how do we move forward. And secondarily, a reminder that when we look at these scores, these represent a snapshot of one test in one time. And we have lots of other things that we do in the district to assess students. So how do these scores come about? Well, we have 2 parts. We have the CAT, which is a computer adaptive test, and we have performance task. So every student is responsible for doing both of those. These next slides, we'll just kind of go through very quickly what each of those letters means. The C represents computer because it's more efficient for every student and it gives flexibility and greater accessibility to students. And again, in the district, we have all of our students taking the Smarter Balanced Assessment online. Now, a few years ago, you might not have thought that was possible. But at this point in time, I do want to say a quick thank you to our Tech Services Department for making sure that all of that technology worked very well. We had very, very few problems with this C part of the test, the computer part, as well as the curriculum department and the coaches and the ARE department, site administrators and teachers. Everybody worked together and the technology was not a problem. The teachers knew what they were supposed to do and very efficient in giving that information. And we just had to get out of the way of the students because you put a computer in front of them and they just continue to move forward. The second piece of the test that makes this different is the adaptive part. This test is not the same for every student. When the student takes this test, they answer an item. If they get it right, it gives them a more rigorous item. If they get it incorrect, it gives them an item that's less rigorous. So the test is unique for each and every student. The T part of this is the test part, and simply this test is designed to see how students are meeting the new Common Core standards. The thing that's exceedingly different in this test is in both math and English language arts, students have to do a performance task. Teachers deliver a classroom activity, and then students go in and they are given a problem to solve, generally a real world problem. They have to utilize all of the knowledge that they have and apply it to answer that question and deal with that real world problem. In English language arts, they also use research articles, videos, other types of things that they synthesize and then again have to deliver a written response. So that's the performance task, and that's very, very new to our students in terms of assessing. Okay, so you do all of that and then you get a score. You don't get a score on the performance test and the computer adaptive test, you get a combined score. So when people say, well, how do our students do on this piece or this piece? We're not able to tell that. But the thing that is important to note is that the final scores students get are not based on the number, just on the number of right answers that they have. The score is based on the difficulty of the questions, the rigor of the questions they got right, or the question that they received that was incorrect. So that's important when you take a look at how those scores are determined. Now, I know you're already tired of listening to me. So what we thought we'd allow you to do tonight is, how do those scores go home to parents? What do they look like? So we took just a 3-minute video from the CDE. We want to share that with you tonight that does a quick explanation of those reports and the scores. So Todd?
Pages to each student's report. The first page shows the overall performance on the new Smarter Balanced tests in English Language Arts, Literacy, and in Mathematics. The second page provides more detailed information and other test results. Let's look at the first page of Emily Johnson's Student Score Report. The report includes a brief letter from the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, explaining California's new assessments and what they mean for your child. Depending on your child's grade level, this letter may be different. This section shows Emily's student number, date of birth, grade, test date, and the name of the student's school and district. At the bottom of page 1, we find Emily's overall scores. Her English Language Arts Literacy overall score is 2553, and her overall score in Mathematics is 2458. These scores are designed to show each student's performance on new computer-based tests that replace the former paper-based tests. This year's scores are the baseline for showing growth in future years. Each student's score will fall into an achievement level that helps us understand where the student is on the path to learn skills needed for college and career. Standard not met, standard nearly met, standard met, standard exceeded. Around the overall score is a bar that shows the range of possible scores your child would likely achieve if he or she were to take the test several times. To the right of the overall score graphic is language that describes how well your child did on these tests. The upper part of the second page provides more information about the new tests. The lower part of the second page provides more detail about Emily's overall scores. The English Language Arts Literacy overall score breaks down into the 4 areas of writing, reading, research inquiry, and listening. The Mathematics overall score breaks down into 3 areas of communicating reasoning, problem solving and modeling data analysis, and concepts and procedures. Student performance in each of these areas is reported as either below standard, at or near standard, or above standard. For a 5th, 8th, or 10th grade student, the report will include test results for science. For an 11th grade student, the report includes an early assessment program status, which describes how the achievement levels from this assessment relate to level of readiness for college-level English and mathematics courses. Thank you for viewing this resource provided by the California Department of Education. Be sure to check our web pages as we continue.
So that's just a quick informational piece about how the scores are used, what they mean, and what you saw is what we mailed home to every student, as well as another piece of information and about how you could get more information. And then Dr. Washer had a letter that went home explaining the results as well. So every student who took that test, the parents got that information that was mailed home to them. Now, we've talked about the test itself. We've talked about the scores. Before we get to the next part, just a reminder that, again, we do a lot of assessment in Lodi Unified to inform instruction, to find out where students are. And these scores are just one piece of that. And now, Mr. Nava, the moment you've been waiting for.
Excellent.
Dave. So we'll be sharing with you today our data as compared to the state and as compared to the county. And the reason we're doing that is because As this is the first time we've given the assessment, there's nothing locally to compare that to. This is our baseline data. What we've done is, in all of the data that you will see this evening, we put together the standard met and exceeded, and that's what you'll see. Those are students who are doing, have met that standard or above that, and that's what we'll be reporting on. The first piece of information that you're looking at here is English language arts for students met and above, district-wide. And what you'll note is that overall we had about a third, a little over a third of our students who met or exceeded the standard on this particular assessment. The highest grade level was grade 11, where we had almost half of our students. Something you'll hear me say over and over this evening is this pattern you will see develop where we generally outperform the county as a whole, but underperform when compared with the state as a whole. The next slide has to do with the same items, but with math. You'll note that in math, we were over about a quarter of our students who met or exceeded the standard. So typically in the CSTs, we saw this as well. Our students had greater scores on ELA as compared to math. We were about 28% met or exceeded. And again, in this particular case, we noted that third grade had the highest score, where they had a little over a third of the students who were met or exceeded at that particular grade level. So that's the overall data, district-wide and by grades. Now we're going to break that down a little bit, and initially we want to break that down by ethnicity. So this slide does just that. You'll see that generally we follow the same pattern that we mentioned. We outperform the county and slightly underperform the state. That was the case in most of our ethnicities, with 3 exceptions. Our African American, Asian, and 2 or more races, they underperformed it with respect to the county as well as the state, with our African American students receiving overall the lowest average scores. In math, we see in essence the same pattern again that we just mentioned. Most ethnicities outperforming the county, underperforming with respect to the state, with the exception of our African American and Asian students. The next few slides, what we've done is break it down by our LCAP subgroups. So we could report on those as, in general, that's been reported to the board before, things we're looking at with respect to LCAP. On a positive note, this slide represents our English learners. And generally, and overall, we outperform the county and are equal to the state with respect to our English learners who met or exceeded the standards in ELA. In math, we see the same pattern in that we outperform or even with outperform the county and are equal to the state overall. So our English learners we see with compared to the state are higher than what our other subgroups that we've shared. Next, another one of our subgroups are students with disability. Again, some positive news with respect to this subgroup. Our students with disabilities have outperformed the county and matched that of the state with respect to met or exceeded the standards. That was English language arts. In math, we see that our students have outperformed both the county and the state in terms of met or exceeded the standards. The next LCAP subgroup are our students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, and we see that we notice a pattern here. We outperform the county and we underperform the state. And again, the reason why we're comparing to those 2 groups is because we have no local data this year to compare it to, as it's just baseline data. In math, we notice the exact same pattern, slightly outperforming the county and slightly underperforming with respect to the state for our students who are economically disadvantaged. The last subgroup that we're going to share with you this evening, you'll note that there is no county or state comparison. And the reason is our foster youth, we do not, right now, the state does not provide us with data, nor does the county. So we've simply put this here to recognize that we do have a number of foster students who are in our district and how they've done. In general, we just want to share that grade 4 and 11 outperformed the district average for our foster youth in terms of meeting or exceeding the standards. But we want to be very careful about making any decisions regarding that, because the number of our students who are foster youth across the district is a little less than 180 students. So when you divide that across all grade levels, you don't really have enough students to make any specific conclusions regarding that data. So this was English language arts. You'll see in math that grades 3, 4, and 11 performed above the group average. And you'll notice that there are zeros for the other grade levels. That does not mean we do not have any foster students in those grade levels, but we did not have any foster students who met or exceeded the standards in those particular groups, in those grade levels. Now I know you're really tired of listening to my voice, so what I'm going to do is ask Ms. Ladwig to talk a little bit about a piece of information within the Smarter Balanced Assessment and the science assessment, which is the old CST that will continue. So I'll now turn it over to Deborah.
Thank you, Randy. Randy's asked me tonight just to go over a couple of things. The first one is the EAP. That's the Early Assessment Program. It's been in existence for a long time. It's the grade 11 students' opportunity to perform well in the ELA or math test and then bypass the placement test once they get to California State University and then also participating California community colleges. So it gives the 11th graders a taste for whether or not they are ready academically to advance to the next level and begin taking courses that would have college credit without having to have remediation. So you'll see that our overall participation for ELA has increased over the last year from 79% to 86%. That's a great increase, but the reason we've had the increases in both ELA and math is because the EAP used to be optional and the students would opt in. Now the EAP is part of the SBA. So every student who participates in the CASP Smarter Balanced Assessment will receive an EAP status. So all students now participate. So that's why our participation rate is higher because everybody has to do it. So for ELA, we went from 79 to 86%. And for math, we went from 37% to 87%. And the reason for that is that the only students who could opt in previously were students who were either currently enrolled in Algebra 2 or had completed Algebra 2. So now all grade 11 students take the test regardless of their course pattern. Let's see here. All students that receive a performance level from the CASP, those performance levels all translate into EAP statuses. So if it's standard exceeded, it's ready, standards met, it's conditionally ready, and then nearly met and not met would not be ready for college-bearing courses. Or excuse me, they wouldn't be ready to immediately enroll without taking the placement test. It doesn't mean that the student couldn't take the placement test and then place in a credit-bearing course. So this is just a little bit of results for the last few years because the EAP hasn't really changed. It's still based on the ELA or the math. We have used 3 years worth of data to compare. So you can see that our ELA percent ready for immediate placement has remained fairly steady. And our ELA conditionally ready has gone up, and the number of students for the ELA conditionally ready has nearly doubled. So with all the students participating now, we have a lot more students who are conditionally ready, which means that if our 11th grade students then continue with the rigor in grade 12 with their ELA courses, then they will be admitted without the placement test when they get to California State University or California community colleges. The math percent ready for immediate placement has not increased. However, the number has increased. And remember, that's because everybody participates now, so our pool is much higher. So the percent looks lower at 7%, but we actually have, it actually represents a higher number of students as being college ready. When we look at our math conditionally ready students, the number, the percent has dropped dramatically. Again, because we have such a bigger pool of students participating in the program. Although the number of students did decrease slightly, it wasn't such a great decrease. It just looks out of whack because of the great participation from this year. Next year, the numbers, I'm sure, will be much more consistent. The other thing that I want to talk about today is our CST science. Now, this is the last paper and pencil, multiple choice It's what they call the legacy program, and the state is keeping it in place until the adoption of the next generation science. So this is the CST science. It's given at grades 5, 8, and 10. And again, we can see the pattern that we've seen all evening, that generally Lodi Unified is outperforming the county and slightly underperforming the state. What we show here is all students, but we also showed the same pattern when we looked at all of our program subgroups, the English learners, economically disadvantaged, and students with disability. And now I'm going to turn it back over to my friend, Mr. Melandro.
Thank you, Ms. Ladwig. The next few slides, what we've done is we compared our scores to that of the county and the state, and the next few slides compare those scores internally as sites are ranked in Lodi Unified. The first ranking that you have before you is English Language Arts. But before we talk about that ranking, just a couple of pieces of information. You'll note that the Title I schools are marked by an asterisk. We wanted to make sure we listed those, and we also put our program improvement schools and what year they are within program improvement. So we take a look district-wide at ELA. We did have 12 schools that actually outperformed the state. So the state is represented by the green line. That was the percent met or exceeded the standard for the state. We also had a number of our schools who exceeded the district average in terms of the performance on the ELA assessment. And then we had 2 additional schools who scored above the county. Now you can see that Middle College had the highest percent proficient and above at 98% on the English Language Arts, and Elkhorn was close behind at 93. But I also think it's important to note the number of schools with the asterisk that were above the county and above Lodi Unified, as those were our Title I schools who scored higher than the district and the county average. The next slide is the same ranking for math. We notice again at the top we have 2 schools in math who scored at the highest for the district. They just switched positions, and that Elkhorn was the highest in math at 86%, proficient and above, and Middle College at 82. But again, we had a number of schools above the state average, a number of schools above the district average and the county average, and again, you will see several schools, several of our Title I schools, both above the county and above the district average. So in this way, again, a comparison internally of our schools. The next page is simply taking a look at our high schools, our middle schools, elementary schools, and then the other schools that have some type of delineation that doesn't fit into that, and the ranking of schools, and we have that listed here for you to peruse. And then the next page, we did the same thing for math. So that way you can compare them not with the entire district averages, but within their grade level of elementary, middle, or high school. So in general, when you take a look at how we did, I can now take these off. We outperformed the county, underperformed the state in general, and in general, just like with the CSTs, we had higher scores in English Language Arts in terms of students who met or exceeded the standards versus math. We found that our subgroups all pretty much followed that same pattern. Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Yeah, Mr. Neely.
First of all, I want to thank Randy and the team for putting this together with good information. Earlier today, I also requested this information on Excel spreadsheets. Do a little work in sorting the data now, and I appreciate that. That's the right way. First thing I want to do, though, is I've got a question for the superintendent. Actually, a couple of questions. The answers don't have to be long. But Dr. Washer, I want to ask you, as the academic leader of this district, what's your impression of these tests?
What's my impression of the tests or the results?
The results.
Thank you. Mr. Nava, Mr. Neely, members of the board, we anticipated low scores, so I cannot say that we're surprised. So I'm not surprised by the low scores, but we certainly are not content with the scores. With any change in testing format and content, you will see a drop in scores from the previous format, which is what happened. The format is very different, as Randy explained, and the content is different because the standards have changed. So that's part of why the scores are lower. But it's not a surprise, but also we're not content with that. We do know that with the next testing cycle, we will then be able to monitor our own progress in terms of how we have improved or not improved. And to me, that's going to be the more significant piece of this in terms of moving forward, because we need to see that. At this point, it's baseline data. So that's what I think of the scores. Is that your question for now? Did that answer it?
Yeah, that's good. I gotta tell you, one of my concerns is that we look at this simply as a baseline and nothing else. Now, you shouldn't do that, I don't think, with assessments. With classroom teachers do all the time. We do informal assessments, we do formal assessments, and that guides our instruction. This was a formal assessment, and I'm wondering if we're going to be using this to help guide the direction of the district and the programs that we're using.
Absolutely, Mr. Neely. In fact, part of the whole umbrella of the state test does include interim assessments. They are not required, but they are available free of charge to any school, and our intent is to encourage every teacher at every school site to use those interim assessments. They're available 3 times a year, and that will give ongoing information to school sites in terms of monitoring instruction and student progress. There are also avenues within that to help students become more familiar with the test format. So we're looking at 2 basic ways that we need to address this. One is with our instruction, and the second is to make sure that students can show what they know without the test being a hindrance in of itself. So we need to make sure that all students have the instruction they need to meet the content standards that the state has set, but we also need to make sure that students are familiar with the test itself so that when they take it, it's a true reflection of what they know. I'm not convinced at this point that these scores are a true reflection of what our students can do. I think that the testing format itself was so different that it could have been a hindrance to many students. So once we give students more practice with performance types of assessments, computer-based essay writing, explaining your thinking, those types of things that are required on this test, it won't be as foreign a format, and students will be able to then really show what they know. So it's both instruction and teaching students about the test. As you know, we've spent years with test-taking skills based on the fill-in-the-bubble multiple choice. Not all those strategies apply here. In fact, most of them don't. So it's going to take us a little time to help students become, especially younger students, become familiar with the format.
Totally agree. That's a great idea to the teacher, how to take the test. Last comment is that I didn't have much time, but I did a little sorting on data. And particularly looked at elementary schools, because the board has set as one of its goals that all students should be reading at grade level by 3rd grade. And when you just sort our elementary schools, you'll find that we have, I think, 9 elementary schools out of 28 that are not Title I. So then we have 19 Title I schools. When you look at English language arts, every one of our Title I schools were below the state average. The lowest being Oakwood, which had about 13%. We've got some really low ones there. Oakwood, Westwood, Lawrence, Needham. They're all incredibly low in English language arts. And then when you look at math, Oakwood Elementary is all the way down to 7%. I mean, that's just, it's hard to comprehend. Now, this isn't a big change from what we saw with the CST. And that's that our schools who have a high percentage of students in poverty are not doing well. And we know that. We've seen it for years. And it's time that we really start to focus on those schools. And it's not about money. If money would have fixed the problem, Title I schools would have no problems at all. So it's not about the money. It's about how we introduce instruction to those kids. It's about maybe increasing the length of the day. Maybe it's about increasing other resources. But until we change the way that we're doing things, we're going to continue to get these Title I schools on the bottom. And 2015, after a break of a year of testing, shows that we're in the same position as we were when we gave the last CSP. So I would urge the board to take a look at this. I'll take the data that I've got here and I'll send it out there. You can see where our schools end up. We've got to get these kids up to standard in the elementary schools if they've got to, or have a chance at all to the high school. That's all I've got to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, George. I just want to make a little comment. I know we have a committee on the poverty on our board, an ad hoc committee, and I know there's a lot of intangibles involved. You know, we got to talk about the parents too, the parents that have these kids and they go home and that's it. They close the curtains and nothing happens at home. Those are the things that we have to be cautious and help these people to help their students. And then when they come to school, they have some type of pride whereby they can start, you know, the light goes on, I call that. Okay. Any other comments of Mrs. Castle?
Yes. Thank you, President Nava. Just a couple observations. First of all, thank you, Randy and Deborah. You gave a very well-rounded, good report, so thank you for the work and all the effort that went into that. I look at this, and thank you, George. I agree with what you said. I just took a little bit different perspective on this, and I think that we have to give ourselves a lot of credit as a district because the testing part, just if you look at that, was an enormous change. We had to ask a lot of technology certainly to get it all together, the staff and the students. And what Randy told us is that the testing effort went very well, and that shows, in my mind, a tremendous willingness on everybody who had to be a part of this huge change to get in there and make it work as far as the testing format. So good for us. We have the data now. I agree with what Dr. Washer just said, that we've got the data, the baseline. We need to use it and build on, build up from there. But I just want to make sure we give ourselves credit for, kind of getting through the whole first effort of testing in such a good shape. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Castle. Any further comments from the board?
Mr. Nava, I've got two things if I can. It's good timing. In fact, we were at Oakwood Elementary School this morning for our visit, and we saw some things in place that we believe definitely will help students, any student, but especially students who have scored as Oakwood did, kindergarten students on iRead. And I spoke to the kindergarten teacher briefly in that classroom who said that she is trying very hard to make sure that every day, every student is on iRead for at least 20 minutes. And of course, there's some variance there, but making a commitment to do so and to see these children and hear them on the iRead program, learning to read at that very first level will help close some of these gaps as they move forward, and hopefully there won't be the problems with reading that we've seen in the past with so many children. Also, they have had spent a great deal of time dealing with issues of culture, school culture and climate, and that seemed to be a more pressing issue for them at that time. And so for the last few years, couple years anyway, that's what they've really been honing in on, is making that a safe, comfortable environment for students and their parents. And it was evident today in our visit that they had achieved great strides in doing so. So those are some of the other issues that don't get reflected in scores that test reading and math but are a huge, huge part of the educational program that students have every day. So that's just a little taste of what we saw at Oakwood this morning. Also, I just want to remind you that you have two individuals here tonight who have firsthand experience and perhaps a unique perspective that you might want to tap into as well while they're here.
Students. Yes. Anna?
When I took the test last year, a lot of students, we were just, we didn't know like why we were taking it. A lot of students were not concerned, but confused. And if they think that way, they think, why should I try on the test? And people need to be more encouraged by it, be more aware why they're taking the test. And I agree with Dr. Washer, how like the test was so different this year that it was a little hard to adjust and it was intimidating because you did have to fill in with the boxes and it was challenging and it took time out of my day to do it and I don't know. It was challenging, but I think if we got practice and how to use like the little box that popped up on how to, I think you could highlight things and do things like that. If we got more practice on that, it would be more comfortable taking the test and we would most likely perform better.
Thank you, Anna. Those are first-hand experiences that we don't hear about. Thank you for sharing that with us. Colin?
Just like Anna said, it was very different, the changing, going from multiple choice like the whole life to trying to have to answer like short answer and not knowing what to do. Like that's the first test I've ever taken on the computer, really like state test. So it was just very different. But if I had was taught differently on how to use that, I probably would have done a little bit better. And people kind of shocked of that they had to take this test. It was like a different idea. And it's they were just shocked.
Yes. Thank you, Colin. Thank you. We have a member from the audience, John. Excuse me.
I just want to tail on something that's okay Beth said. I think all the schools rolled it out differently. It's okay. We had.
Mr. Hyde, could you come up for the recording, please? Thank you.
Sorry. Just right on okay, you were in the gym, right? Yeah. So all the schools kind of approached it differently, and I think we've got a lot of experience on how to roll out a test. And so we might have a view of how to do it, whether it's best to do in a gym with 400 students or in the classrooms with the Chromebook sets, like Bear Creek Public. So there's different schools that do it different ways. So I think we're all trying to get a grip on what we're doing. So I just want to make that comment.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Jeff?
Mr. Nava, members of the board, I really want to appreciate one of the points that Randy made in the presentation, which is this is one piece of an overall picture, and we need to keep a focus on that because the overall focus on standardized testing is the be all end all of our educational experience. I think is an error. There's a lot going on. The problem I have with the report is the ranking of schools, because as John pointed out, there was such a huge disparity in experiences and also a huge disparity in the testing window, because school sites were told, hey, if you get on the ball early, we got lots of district support and we'll get out there and we'll help you with the test. So some sites were giving the test in late March and other sites weren't giving the test until the end of April, beginning of May. And my members wanted to make sure that I pointed out to you that the difference in that could be the difference between being on Unit 3 in a math series or sequence and being on Unit 5, 6, or 7. So the knowledge base available to students and the skills that they have available to them as they take the test was going to be widely different depending on the administration at the site, how prepared they were to roll out the test, the logistics, as John pointed out, site to site, and how the modality that they decided to implement it. And so that kind of testing instead of teaching mentality creates some inequities between school sites that we need to be mindful of. So comparing these sites, the danger that I fear is that now there's an undue pressure that's going to either real or perceived exist at some level between administration and staff of, hey, you guys really tanked this test. And we've already pointed out some schools were very low and, middle college and which perennially scores really high. But there's those ones in the middle, and that kind of variation is a dangerous thing. The other thing I wanted to just have you think about is the volume of testing that we're doing. And I know that there's these practice tests available that we can take with this. And we've got this Smarter Balance test, which takes, I don't know how many days, 4 or 5 days, Randy? More?
At the high schools, about probably 5 days.
So we're talking an entire week of testing. The beginning of the year tests for third grade. Beginning of the year tests for third grade. SRI, Dibbles, CELT, GATE, fluency in reading or writing, math inventory, multiplication facts. These are all tests that our kids are taking within the first month of school. When are we supposed to get the instruction done? So if we're testing the heck out of them in the first month of school, and we're spending a week or 2 weeks, depending on when the test is administered, sometime late March to end of May, there's such a huge discrepancy in what our students have in terms of their tools to take these tests, that ranking schools and comparing them and using this as a baseline, we have to be really, really cautious with.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes,
Dr. Stratus.
I would, Lisa, Randy, and staff, I'd like to thank you for your wonderful presentation, very well thought out, excellent job. And students, I'd like to thank you, Anna and Colin, for your observations. My question to you students, though, is do you feel that the test accurately reflected your knowledge of the subjects?
Personally, I don't think it represented what my knowledge and base of what I know. I don't really know how to elaborate on that. Just the questions and the way the test was formed, it did make me think in a different way, which is good, but I was not prepared for that type of test. And I don't know, I feel like, it's hard to look at right now.
Well, it was like, it didn't really like show like, my scores probably didn't show very good for me because like, it was kind of like, it came out of nowhere for me. And like the questions were worded very differently than what I was like used to in like classes. I mean, I learned all the stuff, but the questions that were, the way they were worded really like made me think differently, but I don't think my scores showed for how smart, like the knowledge that I really have. Like, and not knowing like multiple choice, like it kind of takes like pressure off me, but then knowing that that's all short answer, it was very like, I was very pressured differently, so I kind of answered it differently than how I would have like multiple choice. So.
I also have a question. Was the test timed, I believe? I don't remember if it was or not. No? Okay.
Mr. Nava, this
Yes.
points out one of the reasons why our teachers and site administrators are working hard to make adjustments in what they do in the regular program at school, the regular classes, in how they present information and how they assess students a regular test. They're trying to mimic the types of questions and wording that students will see when they actually take the state test. So unfortunately, these two students and their classmates were the guinea pigs or the first go at this. But in the future, in class, they will be experiencing these types of questions and format, before they take the test. It'll be more familiar. They're actually working on performance tasks and assessments that they will all do by grade level or by subject that will be similar in format to the SBAC test so that it won't be so different for them when they get there.
Thank you, Dr. Lusher.
And I appreciate both of your candor. I know I put you on the spot, but it sounds like both of you were surprised with your low scores or whatever the scores you got, and were disappointed that you felt like you had a better handle on both math and the English subjects. That'd be fair statements, or?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, well, all right, well, and that's also positive too, that we know that there's a whole bunch of potential there that we have to tap in and communicate. So, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any other comments?
Mr. Noah?
Yes, Mr. Neely?
I agree with the comments that were made, and I understand the perspective of we don't want to overtest our students. But my issue is that we had these same schools scoring extremely low for about 7 years now that I've seen it. I tracked it for 5 years and put out spreadsheets that showed the schools that were on the spot, and we really haven't addressed that issue adequately. So no matter what the test, no matter if it's a bubbler test or a computer test, the one thing that students have to be able to do is read the question and understand what they're being asked. And I think that may be a big problem that we have in some of these lower schools. So we need to take a little bit closer look at what's going on in these schools and why they keep scoring. It's well past time that we just try to brush this off. It's time that we actually try to do something about this. San Francisco Unified had a problem with something like this, and what they did, they were their most performing schools. And I've mentioned this before, I've talked about the Washington about it before, but they formed what they call the superintendent's district. It was within their own district, and the superintendent paid special attention to those schools and ensured that those kids were able to read through, assigning various resources to them and that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that we need to do. We need, for these kids' sake, we need to get these kids where they can read the test, understand it, and then they'll do well. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Ms. Hubbard?
Thank you. First of all, I want to acknowledge what Jeff said about the differences in testing procedures. It's really important when we're starting to analyze one group within our district to another. And I think that for us, we need to have some kind of standardization so that we can tell what's going on at a school or not. However, and this is something that's concerned me for quite some time about San Joaquin County. We're known for not being educationally up there, I guess I should say. And so when we look at our test results of the same test that were taken in the state, I think it's important for us to say, okay, what are the schools doing that are successful? And that's what we do anytime when you're in academics and you're taking a test and you say, okay, what are these students doing? What are these schools doing that make their students successful? And really I'm looking at all of the schools. The two schools, Middle College and Elkhorn, are different schools because they're kind of schools of choice. So I think that we should look primarily at all of our, what I would call our public schools, and say, where are we and where do we want to go? We should say we want to be one of the top districts in the entire state. And so what will it take us to get there? We have to develop what I would call the educationally aware parent, where we say, hey, the education of our students is the most important thing that we do. And we roll out those programs that will make our students successful. And I think we can do that, but we have to have a mindset that that's the most important thing that we do. Day in and day out, every day, and after school, and in the summer. And we need to do whatever it takes to get the job done. And that's one of the things that I think differentiates the people that are successful, the people that are not, is you do whatever it takes to get the job done. And I want to see us move forward as a whole district for every child. Because I'm not happy with those scores. I don't care if it's a new test or not, because everybody else took the same new test. And believe me, I have real issues with all of the testing, so I know we're over testing, but when we're gonna compare against the state, you know, our kids deserve the best chance too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, just in closing here, I'd like to thank the committee for all the data that you gave us. I know that we compare the county, the state, and Lodi Unified. I know, listening to the students and from personal experience, to take a new test, and especially on the thing that I don't understand too well, that creates a lot of anxiety. My God, I know you had anxiety and going the little blocks that you talk about, and oh my gosh, and you're spending all this time trying to get the knowledge of that. And I know that Dr. Washam and we in this district are making a concerted effort to have these youngsters read at grade level. We have all these programs, I Read, 180, and all these that are doing that time. And I know George mentioned that reading is the problem. Of course it is. And being a former high school teacher, if you get those kids in 9th grade that can't read the Stockton record, a 3rd grade reading level, my gosh, that poses a big problem in the school environment, and especially when you're going to take the exam. I mean, I look at the exam and my mind goes blank, and what do? Those are the scores that are going to be low. And again, we're comparing district and county, state, and Lodi Unified. I expect that Lodi Unified will surpass, as once we get all the experience and knowledge of taking all these tests and getting rid of all the anxiety that these students get when taking these exams, that these scores will go up and continue to go up, and we don't have to compare to anybody, that we are just the top at Lodi Unified School District. Thanks to committee for all your work. My gosh, it was enlightening to see all these things here, and you look at them. I haven't scrutinized what George has done with the schools of Title I, but I'll go home and bring it out on my screen so I can see it big. I can't see it here because I need, what do you got? One of those magnifying glasses, okay. So again, thanks very much, and Mr. Everett, you have a comment? Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. While we're discussing this, a lot of things kind of came out, and I think that if we kind of just note them, kind of chunk them off, that in itself might help us learn from this last round of testing. And some of them could be when the test was, or it could be a month and a half between schools taking the test. There could be where they took the test. I'm kind of surprised that you would put kids in a room with 400 kids and take a test. It just seems odd. But there might have been some technology reasons for it. I don't know. But the environment in which they take the test. I think that practicing and learning what those boxes mean. We should be paying specific attention to what the students are saying, because they're the ones that sat there and had to manipulate that test. And that in itself is a wealth of information. And thank you for being kind about the test. It's not our test, so you can call it whatever you want. So it's nothing personal, on this end. But that's really valuable input. And if you chunk away every one of those things that might have been a negative towards the test of how it was taken, I think that all of those are really valuable lessons for us to learn. Let's learn from what we did the last time and try to improve those. One thing that kind of surprised me, Mr. Melandro, you said that it's a 5-day test?
It depends.
Like high school,
but approximately, yes.
Okay.
That's if you don't have the students taking more than about 2 hours at a time. So you don't have the students taking an entire test all in one sitting, but most of our schools did not.
Yeah, and that leads me to my question. This is kind of for the students too. Was there a certain amount of fatigue taking the test, or because they can get overwhelming if, you're doing this. I mean, is that something that is, a part of it is just, I understand you said it was new, but, the duration maybe?
I would say for the English test, at a certain point, I think one of the last things we had to do was actually respond to like an essay question. And after taking the test for more like an hour and a half, that was taking all of us, that was something to take out of us because they expected a pretty lengthy response at the last thing to do when we've been already taking and reading so many different things. It was hard to piece it all together. So yes, I would say yes.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what the timing of how the test is set up and how the blocks go and that kind of thing, but I'm just throwing it out there, maybe if that's something we could look at too, in addition to those other items. Anyway, thank you for your input. It is very valuable. So, thank you.
President,
Yes.
this is separately made me think about something. What's our enrollment at middle high school?
What, 300 almost?
Right. And enrollment at Elkhorn?
Like 250.
And how do you attend those campuses?
You apply.
They're different. Elkhorn,
You take a test, right?
you have to be qualified. Middle college, you apply.
So we took 500 of our best test takers out of our other campuses and we put them in one place. Which other campuses on the county offer that? Which other districts?
There is a middle college high within Stockton Unified.
So we're almost unique in doing this, aren't we? And there's no elementary program that does that. So what if we took those 500 students and we now intertwine them statistically back with the campuses that they would have attended? Wouldn't that have raised those schools' averages? Wouldn't that have raised our scores? Wouldn't that have made us comparable with the county? Statistically?
It would have
Quite telling.
It would not have decreased anyone's school.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll go with it. Wouldn't have hurt, right? So, statistics are statistics, right? 3 times, said Mark Twain. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Lisa, and group. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. We have, continue on with our, board advisory committee reports. How about future agenda items? If not, then I declare this meeting adjourned. Good evening.
Bye, George. Bye, Bonnie.
Hey, George, we'll see you. Bonnie, good night.
I believe in sports.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but, oh yeah, all of it. I don't just say that, I'm talking about it.
I'm saying, basically, you think there's a lot there, but in reality, I've been other schools where the kids are in the period and you get a grade and a time, and
What am I thinking about at the end of the day? When the basketball team goes to skate, they get an announcement over the speaker. When the science team goes to national competitions, no, we have policy.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Like whenever my niece kids did something well, I had to.
Oh, and the fact of the matter is, I was talking to John, and he was talking about the test. The test itself is probably rocket. It's probably rocket test, because first of all, if you trust any to make a test that's different for every child, I don't trust them because, oh, we're gonna interpret it this way, and then he was talking about the test questions, which is A, B, C, or D, E, is it A and B, C and D?
So I would not do an
And then
to go to you and say, hey, look, you know.
I don't know, but here's the high school. We'll get the kids to just follow it and they fill it out. 3 minutes, they take the photograph test. Yeah, and there's no penalty. So one of the things that my daughter, the kids decided that they have to have a state test in the classroom. So they did all those studies. Okay, now how many kids in history go and say, oh, I wanted to make sure that I do well on state tests. I'm gonna spend my time studying. They don't even know to do that. And so.
Sorry, puppy, but you and I are on the same page.
What over? Exactly. And I think that one of the things when I did some volunteer work at elementary, they are just like, okay, we have 3 minutes, 3 minutes, and they're just, and they don't have the time to do what they need to do, they make the kids think, or know them better, go back over it, and routine.
They always talk about routine.
And there's
when is there time to do that?
And then you quote unquote scripted programs, there's no routine time.
There's no reteaching, and we don't.
Yes. And so
we don't spend enough time teaching. And
yearly training.
we don't let the kids learn the material because we say, oh no, we can't memorize everything because that's not creative. Well, if they learn stuff, then they know this stuff, then they apply it to this. And it builds their confidence. It's just like learning the multiplication table. Figure it out all kinds of different ways of carry. But to do it efficiently and to succeed in math courses, you need to know your multiplication. You're not going to be able to do the stuff with the number all the way up so you can take calculus. You just don't have the time to do that. And I don't think that people should you can figure it out. Maybe you can figure out a way that's different. The whole thing. And for kids who are really bright, they can do it.
I know, that's how I was, going through all this stuff. I remember, they said, oh, I can figure that out. I was like, well, how to do it? Well,
Thank you very much. And that's hard, it's hard at times to explain how you use all the stuff.
Absolutely, I will.
I did this and this, I mean, that can take my kid 20 minutes to explain. I see no value in
I'm out of here.
the different.
You're gonna go home and have fun. I can't believe it, 9 o'clock.
Okay, or you could, the other one, solving the rectangle.
We can do that.
Maybe doing the other part, get rid of to tell people how to use solve that.
I listen to all the I don't see her.
I don't pay which one I like and don't like because I am on vacation.
But in education, the money's in failure. It's like, oh, no, let's spend all our money there.
and did you see the Stanford report that came out about the virtual?
If you're used to that, where would you want? But
I have seen a report that came out.
All right.
Hey, we'll talk soon.
Call me.
That's within a year of school.
Yeah.
You know why you bought it? Yeah, people are getting thousands of
You got everything.
They
huh?
got it, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
I'm okay. But.
Is it getting better every day or worse?
So
Down?
this is what they did here, okay? They took the kids, they put the kids in the gym.
Yeah.
I heard that as well. I've been trying. Gerald, I'm going.
Well, for kids who live in school, you pick a test.
I guess they have, they didn't have Chromebooks.
Well.
Because they're not one of the.
Everything's okay till we have that last.
Yeah, I kept thinking, well, had to have been some kind of technology.
Well, that would, to me, would cause more of a technology problem, because now you have everybody trying, because this was my expertise, was computer networking, okay? So now you're having everybody log into the same Wi-Fi portal, and that's just going to cause more traffic problems. People get fucked up. I mean, yeah. And I was all about the algorithms and figuring out all that
So
stuff.
he said that people didn't know how to do it, the teachers didn't know how to do it, the kids didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I tried that first letter, my job not
to
State rankings, if you look at state rankings, Tokyo's the top school. It's not on the distance, but on the basic ranking, Tokyo's the top school for everybody. Yeah.